city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, and Jackie K. We are here on behalf of MileHighHockey.com to talk about the Colorado Avalanche and beyond today, as some of the Avalanche are partaking in a international tournament that is set to begin this evening. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually more excited than I thought I would be. So excited that I'm looping the intro track. But yeah, I'm more excited for that tournament than I thought I'd be. But let me give you a quick rundown of what you can expect on this episode. We will do a quick recap and reaction to last week's action. That is the action that happened between last week's episode and today. We will, of course, do our Four Nations face-off preview, talk a little bit about that from kind of an Avalanche-specific angle. I think that's our thing here, so that's what we're going to focus on throughout the Four Nations face-off, so you can look forward to that. And then we will end things with our bold predictions and some league news. So we have lots to touch on today, as the Avalanche are still maybe busy, at least in terms of the management, thinking about the trade deadline. So we're really happy you folks are here today to join us. Please head on over to the website, milehighhockey.com, if you haven't already, to see all of our previews. We will actually be previewing and recapping all of the Four Nations action as well. And again, that will be slanted in the Avalanche favor. So let's just start this thing. Let's drop the puck on today's episode, the Gabe Landeskog episode, episode number 92. That's why. So, Evan, I'm going to start with you, my friend, Mr. Managing Editor. The Avalanche performed pretty well in the last two of their three games. They got blanked by the Canucks, but then pretty decisive victory over the Flames and a crazy win over Edmonton. We saw some great performances from the likes of Nathan MacKinnon, Martin Necas, Sam Malinsky, who we talked about at length in episode 91. And MacKinnon even earned you a ding, but we'll get there. Do you think that this pause for the Four Nations tournament will help someone like Necas and Malinsky, Necas being new, Malinsky coming on again? And conversely, does this continuation of play benefit the likes of a superstar like Nathan MacKinnon for the Avalanche?
Yeah, I think that's a good two-parter question, because I think the answer to both is yes.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Avalanche will, one, get at least a little bit healthier.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a plus, right? And two, you get to see the best of the best go at it with one another. And that's something that we haven't really had in hockey in a while now. And it's going to be super awesome to watch. At least a little bit tonight. It's a late start for me out here, and I got an 8 a.m. class tomorrow,
yeah.
So boo. But I'll get to watch at least a little bit of the Canada-Sweden game tonight. I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I think in terms of like Necas and Malinsky in particular, I know Necas is out on vacation right now. I saw his wife posted something, or his wife, fiance, whatever it is, partner, posted something on social media about that. I don't know what Malinsky's up to, but I'm sure that the players are at least getting, they're staying loose, at least getting the body pumping, the blood pumping at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll probably ramp it up as, we get kind of closer to the end of next week for sure. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a good little break, and it's something new. So why not? Check it out.
Something new, so why not? I'm here, especially like in this era of hockey, in this era of the NHL that is seemingly as star-studded as it's ever been. I think a tournament like this shapes up pretty well. I will say that there's some interesting dynamics given the fact that some of these guys are teammates. Some of these guys are former teammates. Wink, wink, Mikko Rantanen. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do want to touch on this real quick. Brennan, is our road warrior right now. He's on his road heading up to Loveland to cover the Eagles. So he will not be on this episode. But Brandon, we appreciate you, man. And I hope you're listening, as I see you probably are. So appreciate your attendance, Brandon. Any way we can get you, we'll take you, buddy. We'll put those comments on the screen, so keep them coming. But be safe first. So one of the things that I'm like kind of interested in before we move too far into the Four Nations stuff, and I'm going to stay with you, Evan, that Avs and Edmonton game, I'm going to bring it into your world. It felt like Daytona, baby.
It did feel like Daytona. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big NASCAR guy. This weekend's Daytona 500 weekend. Check it out, 2:30 Eastern, Fox.
Yeah.
I'll do my little plug there. They have qualifying tonight, so I'll have qualifying on one screen, and then I'll have the Four Nations on the other. But that game was ridiculous. I mean, you talk about, obviously, I mean, I think we talked about it about McDavid and McKinnon. Of course, the two go head to head. They're always great when they go head to head against one another, and now they're teammates, right? I think it was always going to be like let's see, what the Avs have in store. It's the second leg of a back-to-back. You have 2 weeks off basically at that point. Leave it all out there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. It was a full, fast flying first period, and it was simply marvelous. The Avs kind of fought real hard in that game, and that's a big win. You might look back at that in a month or two. Look back at that win as a pretty big win.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on this real quick because I would put a little salt in there. Mm-hmm. 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points in that game. McDavid, 0 points, -3.
That last week was the week for Brennan's no points for McDavid bold prediction. And he had it up on a tee and he didn't take it because he'd been bitten once before. And that's all right. But yeah, that's always a good feeling when McKinnon outperforms who will be potentially his line mate and or teammate tonight for Team Canada, Mr. McDavid. So that's interesting. I thought that game was like the definition of fire wagon hockey. It reminded me of the playoffs in 2022, where it was like you couldn't sit on anything as it being final, like, oh, the next goal wins. No, I think the broadcast put it best when they said first 1 to 6 probably wins this game. That's how it felt. But Ezra, I want to move on to you, and I want to go back and touch a little bit more on Sam Alinsky. I want to talk about that bank pass that led to a breakaway goal for Marty Necas. And I want to ask you, in your experience, did that seem intentional? And if not, it was still tremendous. But I'm curious about like what you saw there when you saw that play.
Yeah, I thought that was intentional. I mean, he's got McKinnon up on the far blue line. He's looking for him. He also has a cutter on the near blue line. So maybe the thought is that he was trying to pass to that guy and it missed and it went long. I don't think so. I think that's a play that they run a lot to go to the far blue line off of a turnover. So I think it's kind of like set into their offense to look for that. And yeah, it was a great pass. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question, which you kind of already answered, which is like it was really good of Necas to be there, which lends me to also believe that is something that they work on. And plus the steam at which Malinsky put a little on that puck, you maybe don't put that much steam on it if you're just going up to the nearest blue line. You know what I mean? So as you mentioned earlier. So I agree with you. I think what we saw from Malinsky was really, really promising and exciting because for the last couple of weeks, he was kind of in this show's doghouse. We've talked about him as trade bait. Jackie, I want to touch on that with you because you've long since had a season-long bold prediction that Sam Alinsky would be kind of a part of a trade. What sort of trade do you see that being? What sort of return? Is it like as a part of a bigger deal or maybe just not as splashy of a deal and kind of just getting some like lower end defensive talent?
Well, everybody thinks they still need a top 4 defenseman, right?
Yeah.
So something's got to give if they're going to do that. If they make no defense moves, I don't think they trade him just to trade him. That might happen this summer, but I don't think they would just trade him for a pick or something at this juncture. But I think he's going to be part of whatever deal they have to make to get that top 4 defenseman. Like they have so many options in the bottom pair. Like I said, something has to give. There's too many of them. They're going to want to consolidate. They want to get somebody that they can lean on and trust in the top 4 and kind of, it's good to have extra bodies, but they need less than 5. so
Yeah.
so they're
That's fair.
gonna kind of like pick and choose there. I mean, it's not because I think he's terrible or something. I mean, he wouldn't be my choice to go. There's several other players that I would send out the door first, but to me, it's always added up. It's the part that he has an expiring contract, and people say, "Well, he's cheap." Well, he needs to negotiate a new contract. Not that he's going to get 4 or 5 million or something crazy, but I've always said uh, he's going to have arbitration rights. He has this NHL experience under his belt. He's going to have a resume to bring into arbitration, and the Avs always nip that in the bud.
Right.
So I just see him as the odd man out. It's great that I know that he had a goal taken away too, which he's still shooting 1%. It's still coming.
You almost got the double Sam double ding when you lit that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as that pass, I read a quote that he said he was just trying to make it clear. Maybe he was being modest. I don't know, but allegedly that's what he said. They do look for that home run kind of stretch pass. We've seen goals happen that way.
Yep.
In the past. So I don't know. Like I said, I read that that's what he said. So who knows? Maybe he got a little lucky. Maybe it is part of what they do. So, I mean, those are my thoughts on Malinsky. I don't really think much has changed. Like I've never disliked him. I just don't see a long-term fit.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there. Like, and I think you're smart in putting it that way. Like, this isn't us being like, oh, Sam needs to go. Not on a performance basis, not on a level where we don't think he's a good player, but maybe business wise, and knowing kind of how the Avalanche typically operate. That's kind of where we found ourselves. And I asked the question, like, what can he sort of return? But I do think it is as part of a deal, because as you said, I think where the Avs are really trying to improve is maybe in that top 6 and top 4 defense. And unless you package somebody with Malinsky, you're just not going to return that. And so if it does happen, I'm sure we'll see it happen in pretty soon. I don't know that the Avs are going to be like the other squads and be dramatic and wait till the deadline to do a lot of these deals. I think we'll see more of them come in before that, but I've been wrong in the past. I've been wrong a lot this year about the Avs and how they're going to do their business. So I guess
they've been doing their business earlier and earlier. So yeah. I would expect it by the end of this month rather than like a day or two before the deadline. Of course, it all depends what comes together. But like I said, every year they've done it earlier and earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Mikko deal was early as it gets for me in terms of that whole situation.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Puts some writing on the wall for me. But Jackie, I want to keep it with you, and I want to start in on our Four Nations preview. And folks, if you haven't already, please head on over to our Apple and Spotify catalog. We have all 92 episodes as well as bonus episodes that are instant reactions to trades and free agent signings that have happened throughout this season and beyond. But Jackie, let's talk about this Four Nations tournament. I know we spoke before. I think you're for Team USA like I am overall. But tonight, are you rooting for Team Canada with McKinnon, Makar, and Taser set to face Sweden?
Yes, I would vote. I would root for Canada over Sweden, but no, I think maybe you got me confused with one of our other panelists. I typically never root for Team USA in these settings.
Okay.
I didn't grow up as a American hockey fan. I don't particularly like a lot of American players. We don't have any Avalanche representatives. My heart just does not lie with Team USA. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's unpatriotic. Like I said, it's not a part of me growing up as an American. Like the Olympics, I might hedge a little. But for this, no, I do not care about Team USA. So, I would like to see our Avs players do well in Canada, but I'm still lying with Team Finland. I think they're the underdogs, especially since they got all those injuries. I think they've been written off. I like Finland in general, so that's who I'm rooting for overall. But to your question of tonight, yeah, for sure, I will root for our Canadian Avs to overcome Team Sweden.
Gotcha. Well, I have two more for you. One, I feel like Willie Nylander is poised to go off for Team Sweden potentially. Might be a early goal from him tonight is my prediction. Well, we'll get there. But who else are you keying on for the Swedes? And is it just not the same watching them without Landeskog?
I think Sweden's boring with him or without him. So I don't know that makes much difference. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he would make them better, especially, some of the heavy lifting and stuff, but I don't know that he would make them more exciting. They need a lot of help to be more exciting, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Elias Pettersson. Like, he's been thrown under the bus. I hope he has a big tournament. I hope he sticks it to everybody that's doubting him, calling him
Yeah.
soft, maybe not completely worthless, but just not worthy of what he's getting paid, et cetera, et cetera. So
Totally.
I saw in your preview he was centering the top line.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're rolling out, then I think if Sweden's going to have success, he's going to have to be involved. So I'm rooting for him.
That would be nice. I agree with you. That would be cool because as much as I do think that there's something to be said about his play style and toughness and yada yada, I think it gets way overblown and out of proportion, especially in the market he plays in. And then the whole JT Miller and Pedersen thing we touched on last week. What a mess that is, and I don't think anybody really can be to blame when something like that happens. It just sounds like personalities that don't mesh, and you can probably find blame in both sides. So, Ezra, let's move on a little bit from Swede to the red team tonight, the team who wears all red and black, Team Canada. This is a crazy forward group when you look at it on paper. We're talking about McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, etc. It's just nuts. If you're John Cooper, how do you balance that sort of talent, or is it just like throwing darts at a impossibly giant dartboard with just the bullseye?
I mean, it's an incredible embarrassment of riches kind of situation.
Yeah.
His fourth line is a first line on a playoff team. It's ridiculous. I don't know that they'd be cup contenders if that's your first line, but they'd be a playoff team. But I mean, his top two lines are both number one lines in any situation. So I expect them to get a ton of ice time. 3 and 4 will get a ton of ice time as well. And obviously that doesn't you can't give everyone a ton of ice time, so it'll be less. But I think he's got a really clear delineation in his top 6, bottom 6 of like, these guys go in the offensive zone, these guys go in the defensive zone, and all 4 lines are going to be able to move pucks from defense to offense pretty easily. So, I mean, there's another team on the ice, so it won't be that easy, but pretty easy. I was trying to come up with anything to predict about the Four Nations for my article on Friday because, as I put in our roundtable, I'm not really paying that much attention. But I went with Canada as my winner for the tournament just because you look at that forward depth, and obviously we love 2 of the top 6 defenders as well. So you look at that and you're like, it doesn't even matter if it's what goalie's in net. Now, I will say, I did read today that they're starting Jordan Binnington. So
they're just going to die on that hill, aren't they?
I don't understand it. I didn't get why he was named to the team. I don't get why he's starting. It doesn't make any sense. But.
Well, let's actually, I'm glad that you brought this up because I almost put this in the script, but I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole. But I think, what the hell? Well, let's go down the rabbit hole. Mackenzie Blackwood. Why was there never a discussion about him maybe being someone that Team Canada brought in with their outs in net?
I can answer that because the rosters were set a long time ago, and he hadn't had this. Playing well for the Sharks is one thing, but playing well behind an actually good team that gets media coverage is another. So he wasn't on the Avs yet, and he wasn't in the conversation yet. Basically, is the answer.
That's fair. And now he's the NHLPA's Player of the Week going into the Four Nations tournament.
I'll say anytime that you want to say, like, why wasn't such and such? Like, I think another fair question is, okay, why can't Bednar be at least part of the coaching staff, like at this point? But you have to look at Hockey Canada is such an insular program. If the first question, exactly, you need to look up what else have they participated in. I don't know this about Blackwood, but my feeling is it's going to be thin, and that's why he's not on the short list. So that should always be your first question is like, how many world championships, how many were they at the World Juniors, everything. Like the list goes all the way back, and if they've been part of the program or not. And like you can forecast who's going to be on the World Juniors just because, they were at the Hlinka, they were at the U18. Okay, they're a Hockey Canada guy. So it's the same thing for the men's group. Is they want to see people that have been at the World Championships the last couple years. They tell people, if you want to be on the list, you better show up for World Championship. And
Gotcha.
so
So
it's
it's a lineage
all
thing.
based on that. Exactly.
Gotcha. So it's like you pretty much
I can tell you right now, Blackwood had one. Sorry, Blackwood had
That's
one
okay.
World Junior Championships, and it didn't go super well.
Okay. So
Okay, so if he hasn't been a part of anything at the men's level, no World Championships, nothing like that, then he's not on the list.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's the way it goes with I guess association or establishment like Team Canada. I mean, you got to vet somehow, and I guess getting with the Joneses over there is kind of the way to do it, and that's fine. But I'm curious, Evan, what are your thoughts on Team Canada's star power? Are you like just waiting in bated breath to watch it? Are you worried about it maybe not going so well because sometimes super teams don't work? Where are you at?
I'm not sure. I guess to touch on the Blackwood stuff, I guess if Canada had gotten an injury in their goaltending situation, in the last couple of weeks, Blackwood maybe would have had a shout, but I find that hard to believe that he would have, been fully in the conversation. As for the feeling in the super team, I mean, I'm excited to watch. Canada's my pick to win. That's who I'm rooting for. Kind of like Jackie, I've never really just been big on USA hockey, I guess. And I mean, it helps when they have 4 guys that are on the Avalanche now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not, I'm not going to be like a huge fan and be like, oh, they must win. And if they don't win, I'm going to throw my Canadian jersey out on the ice. I'm not like that. But it's just going to be intriguing to watch. And like I said, it's different and I'm looking forward to it. I think really the big thing that I think all 4 of us can agree on is just don't get injured. Just don't get injured.
I think we can definitely agree
exactly.
on that.
And that's where I'm maybe that's what I might be most interested in is how intense are they going to be? Like, do they understand the fact that, this is technically a break, right, from the bigger picture that is the NHL season? Or are they going to solely focus on the fact that it is an international tournament to win a super cool trophy, by the way? I don't know if you saw that thing, but that thing was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like, what's the intensity level going to be like? It's not going to be, NHL All-Star, like it was before. 100% it's not going to be like that. But is it only going to be a little bit more than that, like a regular season NHL game maybe? Or will it be closer to like a playoff level game? I don't think it'll get that high. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle, but I just don't know. And I think that's probably the most intriguing part for sure is seeing like who's really going to go out there and be like, yes, let's win this for our country.
I think in the championship game,
it'll be lit.
They're going to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you got to think about the setting. It's in Boston and Montreal. So like all of those games in Montreal in the Bell Center are going to be electric because that's just typically how that arena is. I'm super glad they're not doing it in Toronto because Toronto fans are a little more sooty down there and typically not as raucous. So I'm excited that that's where we're at. Same with Boston. I don't think you're going to find a fan base. Maybe I'm not a big fan of that fan base, but at least they're probably going to turn up. And that'll be cool in terms of the environment. So that's exciting. I've heard 2 of you say now that you don't really have stories about Team USA. And it dawned on me now, like the closest I have is Team North America and Nathan McKinnon's beautiful OT goal against Sweden. And like, that's as close to a national memory in terms of hockey outside of really like the World Juniors and the women's game. And so I'm with you. The draw there for an American isn't there right now, but I'm curious as to whether or not we start to buy in as the tournament goes on, because like, this is just me speaking, and I'm probably maybe in the minority here. I love the Kachuk brothers, and I think rooting for the Kachuk brothers will be fun because I've never, ever rooted for them. I've always rooted against them when the Avs play them. So it'll be interesting to have like those personalities that typically you're on the opposing side of be on a side that you can actually willingly root for. And that's kind of what I'm excited about for this tournament. I'm not saying I'm buying any USA 19 Kachuk jerseys. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it'll be fun to watch that sort of dynamic play out. But
I will say the one thing that does win me over with Team USA is the Johnny Gaudreau jersey install that they have. They had Guy Gaudreau, with them at a morning skate. Like that's
awesome.
That's still cool that they're doing that for sure. And shout out the Philadelphia Eagles for winning for them too.
Thank the Lord.
Not just for the other obvious reason that I think Ado and I can talk about, but
yeah, thank you for doing it for all of America other than Missouri and parts of Kansas. We appreciate you. Yeah, that was glorious, man. I didn't win any money, but I won. It was a moral victory. You know what I mean? I'll take it. Speaking of moral victories, we're gonna get ourselves a Mikko Rantanen appearance for Team Finland as well as Arturi Lehkonen. I'm gonna skip my question about USA versus Finland, Evan, and just ask you right up top. Is there going to be anything weird between Team Canada and Finland? Do you see any animosity spilling onto the ice between former teammates?
No, I don't see any animosity coming through there. Definitely not. I think what will be the weirdest part will be with the fans. It'll be the first time that I'll watch Mikko Rantanen post trade, and it's just going to be weird. And I don't know how to feel about it because I kind of got flamed on this for Twitter last week of I'm still not 100% sold on Natchez long term because we've gone through this honeymoon phase.
English is hard.
Honeymoon phase before, I think, most particularly with Casey Middlestat. And he started off the year great, last year with Colorado. And into this year, not so much. Are Natchez and Middlestat the same player? No, absolutely not. Natchez is much better than Middlestat. If he falls down to that level, we got problems.
Right.
More than one problem. And of course, people are forgetting that Natchez is going to get paid too. He probably won't. It probably will not be 14. As much as Mikko Rantanen, but it's still going to be a lot. So I just think about, with Rantanen, he fit well for a decade plus, right? He could have fit well for another decade, right? But it didn't work out. So be it. But that's my little side tangent and address to that. But
if anybody's flaming you on not being sold on the long-term success of Marty Natchez, I think that's silly because it's been 8 games. So no one should be sold on absolutely anything right now. Is it exciting what we're seeing? Are we seeing potential? 1,000%. But as you pointed to, we saw that same potential from Casey Middlestat. Hell, we even saw some potential from Ryan Johansson for a couple of games. And
we had to really try for that.
Yeah, we were looking.
Oh no,
super
people
hard.
were defending Johansson. I don't remember what it was. I think because he had 10 goals or something, and it was the guy scored 10 goals, and it's but
the point is that no, there won't be animosity between Canada and Finland.
Yeah,
there won't be anything like that. If anything, it'll be between fans, and maybe Rantanen will have a little bit extra, maybe for that.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, they should be used to it, right? The Cup team's gone, so they've played against a lot of former teammates.
That's true. Well, Jackie, touch on what Evan kind of pointed to there. Does this feel like a little bit of a Mikko revenge opportunity? Does he see it that way against Team Canada with 3 former Avs, or is this just he'll find another level because it's international play and he's representing his country?
I think more the latter. I think Team Finland is important to him. I mean, he the captain of the World Juniors team.
He's the captain and the MVP in the World Juniors team.
I think what he won is silver at the World Championships, I believe. So, I mean, he's a big part of their program. And so I do think that if anything is going to fuel him, it's this writing them off. They're too injured. They have no defensemen. It's 3 games. Anything can happen. I think the whole, everyone assuming it's going to be US, Canada at the end. It's 3 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the last time they had the World Cup wasn't Team Europe in the finals, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's just the cast-offs. Who cares about that team?" And they made it to the finals. So I think he's going to be motivated by that. Like I said, they're pretty used to playing against teammates at this point, so I don't really see that fueling the emotion. I think when he plays the Avs, I could see that being a little bit more emotional. I don't think like stick it to them because like they're all his friends. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think I do think if anything, if Carolina, I think he wants to prove that he's loyal. I think he will sign in Carolina. And I think there might be a little bit of motivation there. Like he's not just going to say, "Oh, I'm spending the rest of my career here just because I want to stick it to the Avs." No. But I think that's going to factor in a little bit to prove that he doesn't like these narratives about him.
Mhm. I could see
And
that.
I think he does want to prove that he's not just like a money guy. But
Mhm.
of course, the offer's got to be good. Like Carolina has to accept the financial realities
Yeah.
of this cap that the Avs didn't accept. So Carolina has to cross that threshold. If they cross that threshold and they start talking in today's dollars, I do think it will work out there.
You almost have to think that you have to almost believe that Carolina was super confident that they could get it done, unless they just see him as a rental, which is kind of wild to me. But I agree with you. Like I think from at least the Rantanen angle, I think you will see him try to display some um, loyalty, as you put it, by signing long term with Carolina. I just don't know, man. I'm seeing like people already in the rumor mill saying, "Will Rantanen be traded again at the deadline?" Which is
To me,
wild,
that's crazy
totally wild. Yeah,
Absolutely no
because
way.
if anything, like they're a good team, so they do have a shot at it this year. So if he ends up being a rental, I mean that that still accomplishes some of their goals.
yeah,
It's
totally.
just they took a calculated risk because if they got into Natchis's UFA year, they're not getting a great return there either.
Right,
Okay. So if they held on to him going into next year, they're just looking at standard rental, probably futures.
totally.
And yeah, they have a lot of money coming off the cap. I think Brent Burns and Orlov. So they are in a financial position to make him a good offer. I mean, when you get these players in, you know that they need to get paid. You
Totally.
kind of make that decision, which is also I think the Avs made that decision with Natchez. It's just the price. His price is getting more expensive by the minute too. Um, but I forgot the original question.
No, that's okay. We were just mostly
But
talking about how this kind of all the Miko situation weighs into the dynamic in the four nations, and that led us to kind of why
the
Rantanen is.
trading him
Yeah,
thing. I think that's an
exactly.
insane rumor. I mean, maybe somebody wants to conjure up like what an offer is going to be, but
Yeah.
it's going to be futures. So like
Hmm.
how does that help them? They
Doesn't.
want to try to win the cup this year
Or else
and
you don't trade for Miko Rantanen.
yeah, or you just don't do it. So to
Yeah.
me that's insane. And it's like, oh, because he hasn't signed an extension, like whose rentals are signing an extension before the
Right.
trade deadline? That's
Well,
crazy to expect that too.
the more Marty Necas goes off and the more Miko struggles, the weirder the rumors will get as we approach the deadline. I just think that what we might see is Miko goes off here in this international tournament, and a lot of that steam stays with him when he goes back as long as things go well. And then Carolina starts to get the moose that we saw. The only thing that is interesting is kind of he does have a different role in Carolina. When I watch him play for them, he's the guy that they expect to go coast to coast. He's the guy who they expect sometimes to enter. And honestly, like that wasn't not necessarily things he's not good at, but not necessarily big parts of his role in Colorado. And I think that is what we've seen from the struggles. But as he gets more familiar with that system and his role, I think he'll find more success.
He's
Whereas
also shooting 4%.
yeah,
So it's a
whereas
little bit of luck.
the Natchez thing was kind of already built to fly off the paper with his speed. Like it's gonna happen. It's gonna be that scoring touch the same for Natchez that really settles the dust on whether or not he's being successful in a time frame or not. But that'll be exciting to kind of weigh in on the dynamic. Ezra, one last thing I want to touch on before we get into our bold predictions and stuff like that, or anything else we might want to touch on. But I almost feel stupid talking about this. Cale Makar is going to wear the number 8 for Team Canada. Many Canadians, a lot of which are of older generation, we're unto pleased about the fact that he did not immediately give his number 8 to Drew Doughty, who was announced as a part of Team Canada this week. Initial reaction to the outrage.
Wow, we got to find something to be mad about, huh?
Yes.
I mean, that's insane. I don't know why anyone cares about this. Drew Doughty was a last minute fill in. They already had the Makar number 8 jerseys made. What's he, it's stupid.
Mhm.
It's stupid. I get like sort of the veteran gets their number kind of thing, but why are we mad on behalf of a guy who probably doesn't care at all about this? Call up Drew and find out if he's mad, and then sure, let's talk about it. But I guarantee there was some conversation behind the scenes where somebody was like, Drew, do you want us to try to get your number from Kale? And he's like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounded different because he didn't have teeth, but that's what he was going for. There's no way that these guys care about it. I know that there's certainly are players who care about their numbers in the NHL and will make deals behind the scenes to make sure that they get the number they want. That's real. But you're playing for your country. It's not about you, and everybody knows that. I don't think that this is a real thing that anyone's mad about.
The most frustrating part for me is like you guys are under the impression that like Kale walked into the room in Team Canada's office and said 8's mine. And no one else, like they picked 8 for him. They started producing and selling the jerseys as soon as the first 5 Canadian players were announced. And I'll let you guess who was in the first 5 and who wasn't between Makar and Drew Doughty. So that, and even Makar even said it in his interview ahead of the tournament at Media Day, this thing was too far down the production line for us to even consider it. Like we thought about it and we had to make a decision, but Drew was cool with 89, which, I mean, what are we doing here? They're adults. If there was an issue, those adults would solve it. Right.
I didn't know any of those quotes because I didn't pay any attention to this, but I was 100% right about it. Obviously. Like, come on. Why do we have to get mad about things?
Well,
Makar's the best D in the world. Like,
you want to talk about respect?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I get that he's been around a long time, age, yada yada, and he does deserve some respect. But we're talking about Cale Makar here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I think he's earned his respect too.
Mm-hmm.
So, even on the principle of like, oh, Cale Makar needs to give up his number, that. I think he's kind of past that threshold too.
Well, it's also funny because in all technicality, Makar has seniority over Doughty because he has the A for this tournament. In all technicality, technically, but this is just a nothing. Like, I don't understand. Like at this point, just make it like Chell and just have everyone wear the same number because why the heck not? Everyone wear 99 because why not?
Yeah, that's it's a number, guys. It's a number on a jersey. It's about what the logo is on the front anyway, right? Especially when you're playing for your country. So I don't think anybody cares that needs to care. So that I'm glad that we all agree that was ridiculous. But
I wonder if a Kings podcast would have a different take on it, you know? But they're wrong. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week we'll bring them on and be like, were you guys pissed? And tell us why. Well, because here's the thing too. It's like they're like, let's talk about what the two don't have in common. And the only thing you're going to come up with is that Makar isn't as old. Makar's done everything and more than Drew Doughty has in his short career comparatively to Drew's veteran career. So I just think it's a nothing. And Evan or Ezra, you put it right. It's like, do we really just like want to be mad? Is that what we're doing in life? Right
there are so many
but
things
it's so
going on
true.
in the world right now. Like, I'm not about this.
And it's so true. You're playing for your country. Like, who is really gonna, die on the hill of something?
Yeah. Like Drew Doughty holds out of playing for Team Canada because he wanted number 8. You're not going to see that headline, guys.
Neither of these guys is JT Miller. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, I want to show you guys before we get into our bold prediction, actually, a video that was put out by the NHL, and it's Nathan McKinnon getting a video from his sister as he approaches tonight's game, and I want you guys to react to it real quick because it's a really cool video. It gives me a little bit of the cutting onions feeling. I'll warn you now. So if you're gonna cry, just sniffle with the mic muted. How about that? All right, let's see if
I'm
I
gonna cry. You're gonna know about it.
You say I'll turn my camera off. I haven't seen this video, so I guess I'm intrigued
Yeah, I
to
have
see
no idea
this.
what this is. Like, are we about to watch someone die? Oh no!
No, nothing like that.
I'm kidding. I know.
Nothing like that. All right, here we go.
Goodness.
Display up top.
I know her.
Hey Nate, just wanted to send you a message to tell you how proud we all are of you. Mom couldn't do it because she would just cry into the camera for 3 minutes.
True.
No, we're so proud of you. Nobody works harder on a daily basis. Your dedication is honestly incredible. You deserve it all. I know that the next couple of weeks are going to go by really quick and be a bit of a blur, but hopefully you can take a few minutes and just soak it all in and maybe think about telling 8-year-old Nathan that you're playing for Team Canada with and against the best players in the world with some of your closest friends. He would lose his mind. I'm so excited for you. I hope you have so much fun. Can't wait to cheer you on. Love you.
That's very nice. Yeah, I might start crying right now. Obviously, I saw her yesterday, and she's right about my 8-year-old self playing with Sidney Crosby and Team Canada. Wouldn't believe this. So definitely, once you're in it, it's thinking about your performance and trying to play as hard as you can and trying to be as best as you can, but just trying to really enjoy it is something. That message means a lot, and everyone's coming in to support me. I'm sure she always has supported me. Unfortunately, I can't go to her law office and support her as much. But yeah, that means a lot, and she's a great sister.
Super cool, right?
On behalf of my sister, he's guilty. That's a good video.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
the
that's
part,
nice.
I loved the part about the 8-year-old self, and I wanted to touch on that real quick. Is there something that you do right now that your 8-year-old self would be very excited and proud of you for doing? Ezra, go.
My 8-year-old self would be so confused. my 8-year-old self is like, I thought we were doing computers. I don't know. I truly growing up, I never had any clue what I wanted to do, and then I figured it out later. So I think, other than talking about the abs, maybe I think 8-year-old self would be like, what happened? In a bad way. Just
I share the sentiment. My 8-year-old self would be like, you were supposed to play football, and then my 10-year-old self was like, yeah, but you're 5'5", so that didn't happen for me. Evan, what about you? Does your 8-year-old Evan, how excited is he about your life today?
Man, you trying to get me in my feels. How dare you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess my 8-year-old self would be sad I'm not a pro player in whatever. Soccer,
Right.
hockey, football, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe happy that I at least work in sports. So maybe it would be that. There you go.
I think my 8-year-old self would be pretty stoked that I'm talking about Avalanche. Jackie, what about your 8-year-old Jackie? She stoked?
I would say that my life doesn't follow the typical, I don't know, established pattern of what people would think. So
Gotcha.
I think it would be more of, I guess, what am I trying to say? Just kind of an thought-provoking that certain things turned out certain ways and other things didn't turn out, that you kind of assume what your life is going to be like. So
Yeah.
I would not say my life is bad. It's just I don't follow the cultural norms of
Right.
what a lot of people would say and what children would say. So
That's
I
an
think
interesting take.
that's the evaluation, I think.
Yeah, well, there's probably many of folks like you, and so you kind of are speaking for them right now, and I love that very much, and that's why I wanted to get this perspective, because I feel like one thing that we don't do as much on this show that I wish we did more of was showcase our individual personalities outside of the game, and I want our fans and our followers to get to know us a little better. So that was a little part of this, and I think my 8-year-old self would probably kick me in the nuts. But that's just kind of because I was a little butthead when I was 8. But if you got a ode to your 8-year-old self, shoot it in the comments right now. We'll put it on the screen. But let's get into our bold predictions from last week, and then I'll run the track, and you 3 better come up with new ones this week. Ezra, yours was that Mr. Shillington would play all 3 games. I don't think he did.
Nope, he only got one.
I think he played 1 game.
Yeah,
But
I was about to see what his ability level was like, but that's okay.
He came back, so that's good.
I seriously can't believe that they didn't make him play for the Eagles. I really can't.
Yeah, that was one of your predictions as well.
Even then, like right now during this break, like at least get him some game time.
Like a conditioning, like I know the waiving him is a certain threshold, but he was by far able to take a conditioning stint. If they got Ludwig on one, they could certainly get him on one. And they didn't take that opportunity.
Watching that game he played, he clearly needs one.
He needed one all year. He needed one in the fall.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Totally. I agree with you guys. Well, that unfortunately earns you a buzzer this week, Ezra. Jackie, you weren't here to make a bold prediction last week. So we won't hand you anything. But you did miss your ding last week from the week before.
Yeah, my Sam goal, and I almost got double Sam goal.
You almost got double, so we're gonna give you your ding right now since you're
okay, I'll take it.
Yes,
I'll take it. I probably would have said let it ride for Malinsky too, so that's fine.
This week was kind of a ding-a-thon because Evan, you were sweating bullets. You got no points from McKinnon against Vancouver. No one got any points against Vancouver, and then McKinnon had 7 right in 2 games, if I'm remembering correct. So I think that earns you your ding, my friend. Congratulations.
Who needs 3 games to do 6 points when you can do it in 2?
Dude, that's right.
Let's go.
And who needs 6 points when you can have 7? Even better. Brennan had Logan O'Connor scoring a goal. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I said that the Avs would score shorthanded, and then I stupidly said that it would be Logan O'Connor. But I'm going to take a half ding for that one and then a buzzer for the Logan O'Connor ding. So it's pretty much like I got nothing today at all. And then Peterman, I didn't forget you. You had a Middleton goal. That didn't happen, but I'm still going to give you your because you're the man, Peterman. And then you said, oh, wait, maybe I wrote you guys backwards. Peterman had the shutout for the Canucks. No, I didn't have you backwards. We are not handing you a ding. You just said shutout. You pulled an Evan. Evan's done that before on the show as well, where he boldly predicted a shutout, and then the other team got one. And then Anthony said that there might be a hat trick for Makar, and man, was he close. But no ding for you this week either, Anthony. So let's get into this week's version of bold predictions. Listeners and commenters, put yours in the comments now, and I will run that track, and the 3 of you think of yours.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
All right, Ezra, you're first. What you got for me today?
I'm going to go Lehkonen has more points in the 4 Nations than Rantanen.
Ooh. I like it. What makes you feel that way, just based on how things are going right now?
I just think Rantanen's playing injured, and he's struggled in Carolina, and those struggles will continue.
That's something we didn't touch on, was the whole he might not even play thing after he experienced an injury in Carolina. So I think there are reports now that confirm he's gonna play tomorrow. Yeah. So you're totally right. I mean, it's not like whatever that was just went away. So that's an interesting thing. We didn't really touch on that. So we'll see if Lehkonen has more points than Mikko Rantanen in the 4 Nations tournament. Get you your ding or your buzzer. Jackie, what do you got for me?
I'll say Canada, Finland in the final.
Ooh.
Make it an Avs extravaganza.
Love it.
So correct me if I'm wrong. This is like round robin, and then the 2 most points play each other in the final, pretty much, right?
Yeah, like they all play their 3 games, and then it's just one final. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you just have to score more points to get into the final, basically meaning that Canada and Finland would beat more teams than the other teams will, which
I
checks out.
don't. I'd have to look and see if there's some sort of tiebreak procedure or whatever, but I don't think there's like a runoff. They'll figure it out.
There
Either.
are tiebreakers. Let me find them real quick because I know I can.
I bet you we can pull up Brandon's guide and it'll tell us our life. This thing is like
you would be correct because that's exactly where I was going to.
tiebreaker.
I saw him in there.
Tiebreakers. Step 1, total points. 3 points for a win in regulation, 2 points for a win in OT or shutout, 1 point for a loss in OT, 0 points for a loss in regulation. Step 2, regulation wins. Step 3, ROW, regulation and shootout wins, I believe that is.
Overtime.
Regulation and overtime wins, excluding the shootout.
There you go.
Step 4 would be goal differential, and step 5 would be total goals scored. So if they're in a tie in terms of total points, it'll be regulation wins, then regulation wins without shootout and overtime wins, goal differential, and then total goal scores. There's actually 6, 7, 8, and 9 more steps. So they have plenty of tiebreakers to settle this. So I like that Canada versus Finland Avs showcase final. Evan, what do you got for me?
Mine is not going to be Four Nations related because
Whoa.
I found this intriguing, and maybe we can talk about it afterwards. But there is no roster freeze during this Four Nations break. So that makes me think that Chris McFarland's going to be a little bit busy on the phone. I think we're going to get a trade during this break.
Avs trade.
There have been discussions of.
I was going to say, we didn't talk about McCann at all today. Do you guys want to touch on that after this?
We can after, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. I love it. So you're thinking that McFarland is wheeling and dealing during the break. Not a break for him because he's the general manager of the Colorado Avalanche. So you can't take no breaks. Brandon, I'm going to put you as absent unless you comment in your bold prediction right.
While driving safely.
Texting
and driving. Let's just address that real quick.
Yeah, exactly. So my bold prediction will be Four Nations related, and I hinted at it a little bit earlier in the show. And I'm going to say that William Nylander scores the first goal of the Four Nations tournament.
Forgot you said that. I should have just stolen it from you. Oh.
Yeah, real quick.
I'll say Sam Reinhart.
And I like that. That's a good guess. Too. I wrote in.
I think.
Well, that's what I think will be interesting too about this tournament is like I think we'll get performances from guys who typically are kind of under the radar, like a Reinert, I know they're in big market. Nylander is in a big market, but he's just not Matthews or Marner, so he kind of goes under the radar. Like he has only, I think I said, is it 16 or 13, one of the two, less goals than Austin Matthews over the last 3 seasons. And we consider Austin Matthews the best goal scorer in the league right now, widely. So he's kind of sneaky good. I'm just saying. And that's where my bold prediction comes from. So let's see how that goes. We have a couple down here in the comments. Vaguely sober. I don't know if I like this one, but it's funny. Kind of. Rantanen gets into a fight with Lekkonen's dad in the parking lot. Bold prediction. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're gonna go have dinner together over this next couple of weeks. So I wonder if they'll be razzing each other about that. Peterman, we got you down. Canada scores 7 on Finland. Whoa. All right.
Is that in the final or that in their round robin game?
I think he's saying tonight.
Or total.
I think he's saying tonight. You're going to have to tell us whether or not it's... Oh, wait.
Yeah, they don't
Hold
play
on.
Finland tonight.
Live from hopefully not I-25 or I-70, Brennan is here to give us potentially his bold prediction. Brennan, what you got for us?
Well, it is from I-25, but I'm stuck in traffic. I would say Nathan McKinnon, 3 points tonight.
Awesome. Nathan McKinnon, 3 points.
That helped with the 7-goal effort that Vaguely Sober's putting up. So there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe continue with the trend tonight.
Vaguely Sober says, Brandon Carcast. That's right, baby. Brandon on the road to Loveland to cover the Eagles still makes time in a traffic jam to call the Mile High Hockey Lab and give us his bold prediction. Wonderful. Well, Ezra or Brennan, since you're here, I'll also quickly give you your buzzer.
That was harsh. That was harsh. That was harsh.
Well, gee, I didn't get it, so.
Awesome, Brendan. Well, we're just one thing before we let you go, so you drive safely. Do you think there's any animosity between Rantanen and his former teammates? Will it boil over onto the ice, Canada versus Finland in this tournament?
Well, when the country flags are involved, there's always animosity.
Fair, but
And
it won't have anything to do with the Avs dynamic.
no, because I have heard several stories, and it has nothing to do with the Avalanche, but I've heard several stories of like teammates who have tried to talk like right before the Olympics, and I'm talking like on the same team. I think it was LA Kings, and they were, hey, you bringing your family to the Olympics, and they wouldn't even answer each other.
You'll find out when you get there, loser.
Yeah, it's like the grudge started before they even got there.
Wow. Well,
Yeah, so I think I don't think it's going to have to do with the fact that they're former teammates. I think it's going to have to do with one's wearing red, one's wearing blue.
Fair enough. That's what it's all about in these international contests. Well, Brennan, thank you, bro. We appreciate you for giving us a quick little car cast. You're the man. Appreciate it.
Got to pull the LA Friedman.
That's right. Well, you be safe. Get up to Loveland and get us that them Eagles takeaways, which you can find on our website, written by Mr. Brennan Vogt. Thank you, Brandon. Have a good one, buddy. So that pretty much does it for us today. But before we go, let's talk about that trade potentially, the McCann potential. McFarland get McCann to Colorado. Ezra, let's start with you. Initial reaction to that?
I mean, I like Jared McCann as a player a lot. My first thought was, isn't he the guy Cale Makar killed? And yes, he is. So I wonder if there's any issue there. I don't know. I imagine they've probably talked about it. They're both they didn't necessarily play together, but I know they both came up through the Canada system, so there's a chance they know each other. As far as a fit goes, yeah, he'd be a great fit. He'd be a very solid number 2 center. I'd be much more interested in him than a Braden Shen, who's also been rumored to be an Avs potential target. Braden Shen is bad and not an upgrade, so that would be a mistake.
And I don't like him more than I don't like. Yeah.
No, I don't like him as a person. So that, Jared McCann I like as a player, and I don't know as a person.
Well, and Jared McCann has a lot of two-way upside, which I think is important for that 2C role. I do wonder, though, about the center part of this because, he's found most of his success at wing. He still has good underlying metrics at center, but it's just not as large of a data pool. So it's kind of hard to judge that off the rip. Jackie, what are your initial reactions to that?
I mean, the big question is, can they trade Middlestep for him? Yeah. Is that enough? How much do they have to? I mean, he has term. He's a better goal scorer. I would assume he has better analytics. That wouldn't be hard to do. So, is that enough though? Can the Avs add? Can they package and get a defenseman? Kind of a 2-stop shop. I haven't looked deep into it. I mean, I do think that he's a good player, would be a good fit, but for me, it's always about, well, what is it going to cost? And as far as the center thing, I think they need to get over it because they're trying to cram a peg into a hole, and they're not going to find it. Like, you're not going to find. It was hard enough for them to find a center last year, and they paid for it. Like, it's not going to be any easier. It's not like you just go out and trade for a second line, a real, truly established second line center. You just can't do it. So I would rather, for me, have a good player. I'd rather have the better player and the better fit and the better contract, et cetera, than this guy has literally lined up on this part of the ice more in his career. Like, they have options, Drury's the center. Natchez has played some center. I mean, you're just going to have to do something at this point.
Totally.
You're not going to find that guy. So they're going to have to, kind of come to terms with what they can and can't do with the position.
The thing that I like about McCann too is his contract. When you mention kind of the things you want, well, he's at $5 million through 26-27, which he will be a UFA, but he'll be 31 years old in 2027 and up for renegotiation. But right now, he's got 42 points in 57 games played with 14 goals, 28 assists. I've already mentioned, Evan, that he's a pretty decent two-way player as well in terms of the metrics. What do you think of the McCann deal? And also, what about? I like how Jackie talked about maybe getting a defender in the same breath. We go Manson middle stat for McCann Alexiak straight up. Is that a world where that works? Maybe have to throw in another piece.
I feel like you have to throw in another piece for that. I have not looked at Kraken defenders, so I'd have to see what that looks like. The McCann, if the McCann rumors end up becoming, reality, I wouldn't mind that at all. The big thing for me would be, what's the return? Like, what are we giving up? Because the Avs already don't have a lot, right? That's why I made my bold prediction about a trade, because I think they would make a trade, but it would be a small one. Like, I don't think it'd be something like a McCann. It might be something more like a third line defender that they might think could maybe push up and play on the second pairing. I don't foresee that working. Maybe they decide to go completely haywire and just get a third pairing defenseman and move like a Middleton up there. Don't do that. I don't know. It's going to be intriguing to see. I am skeptical that the McCann rumors are true, but hey, why not? You might as well. It's time to have fun. So let's just
spin that wheel, baby.
Exactly.
As for Alexiak, he has a $4.6 million contract for this year and next.
Yeah.
He's pretty good, but that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, I mean, what are we paying Josh Manson? About the same, yeah.
Yeah.
4 point. I think it's 4.2 something.
4.2 something. Yeah.
So it'd be a slight bump, but maybe also a bump in performance.
It would work. Yeah, I think it could work. I think then you might have to finagle a little bit with the bottom six and play, maybe someone cheaper on other nights if you're going to bring in Alexiak. And then I think that's definitely meaning like, oh, Landy's not coming back during the regular season. But I think that's already kind of a given. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, man, it's all just conjecture at this point. 4.5 as well. Okay, so it's $100,000 difference.
4.5 and Alexiak's 4.6. They're very similar players. Manson is a little riskier. Just he takes bigger risks. I mean, Alexiak does less with the puck, both good and bad.
Yeah, exactly. Both good and bad.
I feel like Seattle would probably want a pick or a prospect added on to like a middle stat and a Manson if you package that together.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Manson.
Oh, what happened, Ezra?
Be like middle stat, Malinsky, high pick.
Yeah, I don't see them moving Manson either.
No.
It's just if they see someone as an upgrade on his player type. So I think Alexiak does at least make sense where they'd be comfortable with that, but I don't see them moving Manson just to move like money. Like they're just too attached to him.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Good point too.
That's fair. Well, unless y'all have anything else to add to today's show, I think that'll do it. Does anybody have anything you want to touch on that we haven't already?
I think Ezra's camera is telling him to wrap it up.
I know I just have an internet issue.
Yeah, you froze on us for a second there. Vaguely Sober said MHH Lab frozen was our title.
It was mid-sentence with my mouth open.
Oh, it was. That's how it always goes, right?
Yeah,
you probably froze like 16 times before this when you weren't talking, but as soon as you spoke, that's when technology decided to bite us in the butt. Well, there are 700 of you viewing us live right now. So thank you folks so very much. We really appreciate your time. And for you to spend your time watching us talk about hockey is awesome. If you would please go give us a follow on your preferred social media platform. You could find us at all caps MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey on X. I'm also available on Blue Sky and Threads, all that stuff. I think Ezra is on Blue Sky. Evan, you are also on Blue Sky and X. And Jackie, I believe you're on X as well as some other things. So everybody give them a follow. You can see their handles on the screen there. And please head on over to our website, milehighhockey.com, where you can find all of your current and pertinent Avalanche news, recaps, previews, and opinion pieces galore. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we will be previewing, recapping, and live tweeting all of the Four Nations action, and we will be doing it from the Avalanche angle. And Vaguely Sober will leave you with this. Please sacrifice a chicken for no injuries. Please don't actually do that, but I like the joke. Maybe just throw some salt over the right shoulder, whatever it is.
I was gonna say I'll make my chicken tonight. I'll make the chicken, the little chicken breast. I'll just do that.
I'd say get some eggs first if you're going to sacrifice a chicken.
Hey, Jackie, always thinking ahead. Always thinking ahead. Well, folks, on behalf of myself, and Ezra Parter and Evan Liu and Jackie K, my name is Adrian Hernandez, and this has been the Mile. Oh, and by the way, Brennan was here too. Brennan Vogt, you beautiful guy. Thank you for your time and for tuning into us, giving us a car remote. So on behalf of the Mile High Hockey Lab, go Avs, and I guess go Canada.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.